Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is Leo Loves 77, and I wanted to do the part two of the Blue Devil head gasket sealant. I had a part one where I didn't get to show how I put it in, but I put it in the description box of what the proper procedure is, because there's a lot of videos, a lot of people on here that don't know how to do it, and they badmouth it, and they say, oh, it ruined my car, it gummed up the works, it gummed up my radiator or my heater core, and all of a sudden, people get a bad idea about it, Now, I have a 97 DeVille. So we all know, if no one's familiar with the North Star engines, you blow a head gasket in that, you're in trouble. You got to take the whole engine out, and it just costs so much money. It's like, you might as well just get a new car. So I decided, I saw some white smoke coming out. It's normal in the cold weather to have a little bit of white smoke, but this was really thick. So I knew, and I was losing coolant. So I couldn't go, I didn't drive much, but maybe a week if I drove it. Every a couple days. It would take a week for the reservoir to be empty, because it's leaking out of the exhaust. You could smell the sweet smell and everything. So I knew there was a problem. So I was like, let me pick up this Blue Devil head gasket sealant. And this is the 32-ounce guy here. And I was like, all right, let me do that. So I did that, and I read. I went on YouTube and I checked a lot of people's videos. There's another one of a guy doing it on a DeVille as well, and it worked for him. He was pretty detailed with it. So I gathered all my information. I saw where it didn't work for other people, and I gathered their information. I went and I said, you know what, I gotta do it. I gotta save this car. I need this car. I don't have the money for a new car. It's like, there's pros, there's cons, and I'm gonna do it. So I did it, and I bought it, and here we go. Here's part two. Did it work? It worked. Absolutely. I am here to tell. I don't work for Blue Devil. I don't have any stock in their company. I don't, this is actually, I just heard about this recently, about this. I know there's the steel seal, but I didn't really know much about this until I started YouTubing it and Googling it and everything like that. So, and this is what I did. I did the same thing to what it says on the bottle. You can drain the system. You can flush it out completely if you want. Use a flushing agent. And what I did was, I didn't even flush it. Matter of fact, I didn't even flush it all the way. I took the thermostat out. That's a must. And when I took the thermostat out, the way my engine's set up, a lot of the fluid came out anyway. I didn't even have to really use the radiator plug to flush it. I could have. You can do that. They say on the bottle that you just make room for it, so you don't have to. So I flushed what I could out, and then pour a little water, and then I poured this. Started up, then I poured this in very slowly. It says pour slowly. It took about a minute to pour the whole bottle in. Now, what I want to also say is I see a lot of people on here on YouTube. There was a guy who was doing it on his Honda, and he couldn't do it. I don't know what he did wrong. He tried it 2 times, and he couldn't do it. And that's a Honda. I have a North Star. If anybody knows about those engines, they're not the easiest, especially for head gaskets. They're known to blow them, and they're known to have problems with those. And so I couldn't believe that people with those little 4-bangers and those little, imports, you can't, how bad is your leak? It must be like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It must be really horrible. But so I poured it in. And another thing is I see a lot of people also pouring half the bottle in, and they want to get cheap. Let me tell you something, a head gasket repair is not, especially on my car, it would be like a couple $1,000. Do you really want to be cheap? You spent $64 for this. Do you really want to be that cheap and use half of it and then see if it works? You know what I mean? What do you think? You know what I mean? Of course, it's probably not going to work if you use half. Use the whole bottle. You know what I mean? So pour the whole bottle in very slow, and then top it off with water. It says let it run for 50 minutes. I let it run for an hour and 10 minutes with the heater on high. And it was just, like I said, just let it run, keep an eye on the coolant level. That's what I did. I sat out there for an hour and 10 minutes, and it's pretty chilly out. It was probably like 35 or something like that. I don't know if that was an advantage. When I stopped it, let it sit for 48 hours. And I don't know if the cold was an advantage to, help that seal it. It might have been an advantage. It could have been. I don't know. All I'm saying is I did it in that brisk cold weather. And let me tell you, so I had a lot of smoke coming out of the back of it before I did this. Tons of smoke. Thick clouds of it, man. It was just ridiculous. So, like I said, I wasn't expecting to see it right away as it was running. Stopped it, didn't touch it. I left it in there, let it do its thing, let it seal, let it percolate in there. And then when I came out today, which was, like I said, 48 hours, I came out and I drained everything. I did the radiator plug, took everything out, and then for my car, you need Dex Cool, which the kid who had it before me, he had it in the regular green radiator fluid, which I heard was a real no-no, actually. And that probably was contributed to some of the problems I was having with this car. And let me tell you, it would fluctuate. The temperature would go up. So it would go, before I did this, the temperature would go from, as I started, it actually would get hot fast. That was a problem, you know what I mean? And so it would go from, 190, like we'll get up to 190. You start the car, and like say you drive away at 190, this thing would max out at like 220, 225, sometimes 230, and even in the cold weather. And that's just not normal. You know what I mean? Why does it have to go that high? It doesn't have to go that high. Then it would go down. Then it would go up. So I know there was a problem. I'm losing coolant. I took it out tonight. Took it for a ride. Okay. The hottest that this engine got was 203. Never seen that do that. This car it would go way over 203. This car went to 203, and then it would shoot back down to 197. I even got it down to 188 at times. That is very rare. The heat was blasting hot, not a problem. So that's, the heat works, everything works, got the proper Dex Cool in there. So then, then also if you're idling, so here's another question if people have. You're at a light, you all know you're not moving, you're not getting any air into the engine. It's going to get a little hot. So I was watching it. It went to 203, 205, 206, and it got to 208, right? We all know the engine, the fans will kick on anyway. It's like 222 or something like that. But if you're at a standstill that long, you know what I mean? That's normal. But when it got to 208, at an idle, as soon as I took off, it hit the gas, it jumped right back down to 201, and then back down to 197. And this stuff, I swear by it. This is some good stuff. And like I said, I don't work for them. I'm not getting endorsed. I don't get any money. I'm just recommending it. I'm letting people know. If you don't know how to use it, like I said, check part 1. Look at the description, and I got the proper description. Hey, Sam, who's that? Tesla? Oh, I thought that's Tesla. I got the proper way to do it. And this is my first time doing it, but I watched everybody else do it. I watched people make mistakes. I watched the people do it right. I put everything together, took their mistakes, and made them right. So you can read it right here. It says, not recommended for North Star engines. See? I said, you know what? I got to do it anyways. It's saying that Blue Devil should not be used there because it can't maintain an idle for 45 minutes without having to add coolant. That's not true. That's not true. The car didn't overheat. It actually went to 219 when I did this. It actually stayed on 219, and as soon as I hit the gas, it would go down. This stuff works. And it's the best $64 I've ever spent. Trust me. You know what I mean? If you have a problem and a head gasket leak, do it right. And when you do it, don't drive it right away. Because I know a guy did it on here, and he tried to drive it the same day. He drove it right after he did it. How is that going to work for you? You know what I mean? You're not even giving it time to seal. And then you sit there and give Blue Devil a bad name. This is probably some of the best stuff on the market. I mean, I've seen other cheap stuff, $7, $10. I don't mess with that stuff. Bars leak or whatever it is. I don't mess with that, man. I stick with the Blue Devil. So anybody have any questions, comments, feel free. But I'm telling you my testimonial works. Oh, there's no smoke out of the tailpipes. When I started the car, there was a little smoke, like normal. You know what I mean? Like the normal smoke when it's cold. And then as I drove, it got warm. When I came home, I got out. Let me take a look and see. There wasn't any smoke at all. No, you couldn't see any. No water condensation, nothing. It did its job. It did what it said it did. And it did it even though it said I shouldn't put it in a North Star engine. So, so I'm saying it's good for North Star engines as well. You know what I mean? So that's my review on it. It worked. If anything happens, I'll update in my description box. But so far, so good. So there you go. Blue Devil recommended. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Peace.